Database structure. In this section, you will learn about the database structure. After you open SQL Server Management Studio, you will see the above pop-up like connect to server. So there are various things like server types, server name, authentication, login, and password. So what is this server type? So as we are connecting to our database, so the default we should select it as database engine. Server name, SQL Server data source, name of the server that you would like to connect. By using SQL Server Management Studio, we can also connect to remote SQL Server databases. While installing SQL Server, by default it takes your system name as server name. Authentication. You can use either Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication. Windows authentication is used to connect to your local database that is installed in your machine. So in this case, you can see there is no need of username and password. SQL Server authentication is used to connect to your local database that is installed in your machine as well as remote databases where authentication is required to log into the SQL Server. Login. Username of the database. The default username is SA. When we install SQL Server, by default, the user SA is created. Password. Password of the database user. Now, if you are seeing this error, a connection was successfully established with the server, but then an error occurred during the login process. If you are seeing this message, then the login name and the password that you have provided is incorrect. If you see the below message, a network related or instance specific error occurred while establishing a connection to the SQL server. So it means that the server name you have specified it incorrect. Once your login is success, now you can see on your left hand side Object Explorer. Under Object Explorer, this is your SQL Server name, and under that you can find databases, security, server object, replication, then management, and SQL Server agent. Now, once you create any database, it will be under databases. So if you expand databases, you can find the list of database that you have created. Now let's take an example demo. So this is the database that I have created. So if I expand the demo, you can find that database diagrams, tables, view, external resource, synonyms, programmability, service broker, storage, and security. So if you create any table in your database, so those tables you can find under tables. And if you expand your table, then you can see various things like columns, keys, constraints, trigger, indexes, statics. So if you expand columns, you can view what are the columns and its data types that you have created. So likewise, if you have created any primary key, then those keys you can find it under keys. If you have created any triggers, that you can find under triggers. So like indexes and statics. Now, if you have created any procedure or function, when you're going to create a procedure or a function, that you can find under your programmability and store procedures. So the store procedures that you have created, you can find under store procedures. And if you have created any function, that you can find under either on scalar valued function or table valued function and system functions. These are the functions that is provided by Microsoft. And now let's look into one example. Now if you want to select or create a table inside your database, what you have to do is click on the database, then click on new query. So it will open a query window where you can write your SQL commands to create a database or to create a procedure or to create a function or do a select statement in your database. So if I'm just writing a query, select star from customers. Now you can see that from the demo database, it has a table called customers, which listing all the customers. To run any SQL query, you have to click on execute or F5. So that will execute your SQL query. Now you can see that uh, here is a drop down where it shows the available databases that you have created. So if you want to switch from one database to the other database, you can select whichever database you like to query. So this is the basic structure of SQL Server database. So in this course that you are going to learn tables, views, then store procedures, functions, triggers. So these are the things that you have to remember when you are creating a table. It will be inside your tables. When you are creating a view, it will be inside your views. When you are creating any store procedure, it will be under store procedure. Any functions, it will be under functions. And if you are creating any trigger, so that will be inside your table. So as we can see that there is a folder called trigger that will be inside your tables, then inside trigger, and your trigger will be inside that. Thank you for watching the video.